hello to you during this festive season. Joining us now to go through the news and the stories that are making the news in the papers, former Liberal Democrat Minister Norman Baker and political commentator Paula London.
Shall we talk with the prospect of peace in the Holy Land this Christmas, Norman? The Independent Online talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. He, of course, has been in court this week and he didn't appear in court, I think, on, what day are we now? On Monday.
Yes.
Because he said that there was a matter of national importance that meant he couldn't attend court. And that's got everybody expecting possibly a Gaza ceasefire. But actually, yesterday, he stepped into Syrian territory for the first time.
And this is rather worrying. Look, as a preliminary, let me say that no one can defend what happened to the attacking of innocent Israeli citizens, and the hostages obviously should be released. That's a given. However, the fact that they've been taken hostage does not, in my view, give the Israeli government a carte blanche to do anything it wants by way of return. And the most recent thing they've done now is to break an international agreement from 1974 to go into the demilitarised zone between Israel and Syria and to stay there for, apparently, they're going to stay there for a long time. This is on the back of the International Criminal Court putting out the arrest warrant for Netanyahu for his behaviour. From Amnesty International, which is a well-respected international organisation, issuing a report accusing the Israeli government of genocide, of 45,000 people in Gaza being killed, 64,000 dying of starvation because starvation has been used as a weapon of war by the Israeli government. And, of course, Israel is now taking advantage of the situation in Syria to go and destroy the Syrian Navy and use hundreds and hundreds of bombing activities on the country.
Well, Israel would say, I suppose, they're surrounded on multiple fronts by people that want to see them destroyed and that they're acting in self-defence, particularly in Gaza, and their stated aim is to root out Hamas.
Well, look, Hamas and Hezbollah are not helpful players in the Middle East. And there are countries and there are individuals who want to see Israel destroyed. Israel has a right to exist, but so does Palestine.
And also to defend itself. Yeah.
Of course it has a right to defend itself, but Palestine has a right to exist as well. And the ultimate solution to the Middle East, which has been going on for decades now, the ultimate solution, which everybody knows, is a two-state solution where Israel is guaranteed security in its own borders and the Palestinians are given a state. That's what we have to get to.
But do you think we are any closer to peace? Because there were all these conflicting reports yesterday that Netanyahu was on his way to Cairo for these talks, which were then denied by Israel. But, you know, could the incoming Trump presidency actually bring about peace? Because he said he wants a deal by the 20th of January.
Yes, maybe they could. Let's hope so. But what the Americans at the moment say, Anthony Blinken has said for the Americans, is that whenever it looks like there's an agreement on peace between Israel and Hamas, Israel sets new conditions.
OK, let's move on and talk about health matters. Daily Telegraph reporting today that a bottle of wine a week is better, could be better, taking statins, Paula.
I think this is wonderful news. I love a glass of wine, I'm not going to lie. And people that drink were often told it's so bad for you, etc., etc. And this is good news. I think for many years people always thought red wine was better than white wine, but it doesn't say whether it's red or white.
It must be red.
But I think anything in moderation is fine. And, you know, especially at Christmas, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a drink as long as you're not addicted.
It's interesting that they're looking at the Mediterranean diet. I mean, we hear it time and again, don't we? What's the blue zone? These people who live the longest in the Mediterranean who actually have a glass of wine every day.
I think the Japanese live the longest, though.
The Japanese have a fish diet, which is good, and there's oily fish in the Mediterranean, and lots of olives and lots of wine. Sounds like a nice experience to me.
I know, but we can't do moderation, can we?
Well, I'm eating very healthily at the moment. I've actually given up smoking as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've been taking, you know, Wegovy, and it's made me not want to drink a lot or smoke.
Skinny jab.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I took it just to stop me binge eating because I used to, like, eat lots of packets of Haribo and things and just binge eat, and now I just eat normally and I just stopped smoking. I didn't feel like smoking, and I never even actively tried to.
Actually, sticking with that topic, as we go through the papers, the Times is talking about microdosing these skinny jabs, that people are taking it for a couple of weeks and then being normal again, and actually helping them to maintain
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Weight.
I'm on a low dosage now. I'm just going to keep that, and my weight stayed the same for about 2 months. So
interesting.
Anyway, I think it's much more fun to have a glass of wine than take a couple of statin pills.
Disturbing story in The Guardian about the Pope, and it reveals that British spies foiled 2 attempts to blow him up while he was visiting Iraq.
Is this recent?
Yes, 2021.
Oh, my.
It is, and it's interesting for two reasons, I think. First of all, the fact that had those attempts been successful, one of them being successful, one was a female suicide bomber, and the other was a truck heading towards the papal visit, or the location of the papal visit, with explosives on board. I mean, can you imagine the consequences for the world and peace if that had been successful, blowing up the Pope? That would have been horrendous.
Well, what do you...
He shouldn't have gone.
As a Catholic, would the assassination of the Pope have an impact on world peace? Has he done enough to bring about peace in the world?
He hasn't, but I mean, the symbolic nature of blowing up the Pope would have been so significant. A bit like Archduke Ferdinand in 1914. These things lead off to...
The world was much more Christian then.
Well, it was. But I mean, the point is that you pick a key figure and assassinate them, and that has unwanted and unforeseen repercussions. The other thing that's good about the story, I think, though, is the fact that the British secret services were aware of this and were able to thwart it, and that's a tribute to our secret services.
Absolutely.
That's the case.
I think it's quite sad that he's bringing this up now, because nothing is sacred anymore. Everything seems to be commercialised. He's talking about these attempts because he wants people to know about his autobiography that's coming out, so he's leaking some details. I think that's a little sad, to be honest with you.
Oh, dear.
Nothing is sacred with the Pope.
I know, nothing now.
Let's turn to Adele, shall we? She's been accused of plagiarism. Is this just what happens now if you are a megastar? We've seen it with Ed Sheeran. Or is this a legitimate challenge? Paula, this is in the Times, page 3 today.
Yeah, this is actually very, very interesting because she's been accused of this quite a few times. But this court have said that now she cannot earn any money from the song. The song, I think it was, what was the song called? It was about 15 years ago, this song, but she's not allowed to play it now anywhere around the world.
A million years ago. That's not how long the song was. That's the title of the song.
Yeah, she cannot play it anywhere around the world now, and if she does, she'll be sued. And the Brazilian songwriter who is saying that the song is similar to his song, he now wants $160,000 in moral damages.
Moral damages.
And he wants a percentage from here on in.
He wants a percentage. The thing about this is that there was a Turkish claim against the song when that came out as well. So people just latch onto these things and see the opportunity. I remember back in the old days, there was a claim against George Harrison for My Sweet Lord. And it was alleged by Gofford and King, the songwriters of He's So Fine by the Chiffons, that George Harrison copied He's So Fine, My Sweet Lord, on the basis of that. There are only so many notes. There are only so many chords.
Exactly.
There's 60,000 downloads a day or whatever else on new songs on Spotify every day. You're going to end up with coincidences. And, you know, the idea that George Harrison copied My Sweet Lord or Adele's copied this particular Brazilian thing, I think is ludicrous.
Now, I know about your fascination with music that you've got. What about here at Christmas time? There are all the obvious songs that people will adhere to and talk about. Is there anything that you're aware of that is worth a listen at Christmas or that people are particularly drawn to at Christmas?
Well, I mean, there's lots of songs that people like. I mean, I like Last Christmas by Wham. I think is a really nice number, and that symbolises a lot of things for me.
So that's what, 40 years old, isn't it?
That's near enough 40 years old, yeah.
And it didn't get number one until after he died.
Is that right?
That's so sad, I think he got pipped to the post by the Live Aid, Do They Know It's Christmas? Came out the same year and only became number one after he died, which is so sad. But it is, to me, an absolute Christmas classic.
Yeah. And the Chris Ray one about driving home is very popular.
Yeah. I like a bit of Mariah.
What's there to like about Mariah? There's nothing to like about Mariah.
What's that Christmas song? I can't for the life of me. What's that?
All I want for Christmas is you.
Well, that's lovely. A little short skirt.
It's lovely, but she's not lovely.
No, I don't care about her.
But you do. I can't listen to anything she says, having met her on a couple of occasions.
Oh, please tell us what she was like.
Tell us the gossip.
No.
No, please.
I went to interview her and basically cut a very long story short, where she kept me waiting 4 or 5 hours, and she was lying on a chaise longue. And I went over and I lay down beside her, and her entourage went ballistic. What's happening? What's happening here? What's going on here? I said, I'm just lying down beside Miss Carey. Miss Carey's very tired. She can't do this interview. I said, she's very tired. I've been up from 4 o'clock this morning. I did breakfast television, and she's kept me waiting 4 hours. I said, so I think I can lie down here. And they said, this can't happen. You've got to get up. I said, look, listen, there's the only way this interview's going to happen either she sits up with me and I sit up, or we both lie down. You make your choice. The interview didn't happen.
Oh dear.
No.
Was it her that was allergic to the fabric of the sofa as well? Kicked off about the fabric of the sofa. Was that some other superstar?
No, it might have been somebody else. Don't know who that was.
OK, so we think this is all the rage. What about AI, Norman?
Well, this leads on
This is just
nicely.
briefly, but this is on the same theme, really.
This is on the same theme, and I should say this is Paul McCartney, who is who I'm going to see tomorrow night at the O2. in
Oh,
fact.
are you? Lucky
Are you?
you.
Looking forward to
great.
that. He's saying that AI companies
10
could be
seconds.
given the right to take away works without permission, and he's saying it's all wrong, which I totally agree with.
Well, we'll discuss that more next hour. Thanks both. Here's Anna Krizik with the weather.